My name is Leahey. I'm a business coach at Yes Montreal. And thank you, Jonathan, for inviting us to participate in this. I'm going to be talking about the business of health, but I'll give you a little bit of information about what we do. You've each got one of our program books. By all means, read it through. There's a full understanding of what we do. So we provide, we're a non-profit providing English language support services for job search, for artistry, and for entrepreneurs. Key one that I'm here for tonight is the entrepreneurship side. We are located at Sherbrooke and University. Okay, so if you want to come on by, it's a free resource center. You come in and check us out. If you want to take advantage of the business coaching, it's $20 basically for life. If you come back all the time, $20. So I don't have a lot of time, so I want to keep my pitch a little short, but we'll talk now about I want to be my own boss, right? And what we want to do with being your own boss, when you're looking at this, and it's in the health industry. I've done a lot of yoga studios, Pilates. I helped Jonathan with this one. Health food restaurants. There's not much in the health domain that I haven't touched on in the past little while. So what we need is, there's one thing is self-evaluation, right? And yes, you might love yoga, you might think it's the greatest thing in the world, right? But do you think you can do a business on it? Right? And that's part of the self-evaluation, where you want to take a look at yourself and see if you have what it needs to start a business. And some of those things, I'm not saying, a lot of people say entrepreneurs are born. I disagree with that. I think anybody can be an entrepreneur, right? If you don't have the strengths, if you have certain weaknesses, you can overcome those weaknesses. You just have to be able to identify them. Okay? So what we want you to do is go through and take a look at your strengths and weaknesses and really see where, usually you know where your strengths are. Rarely do you know where your weaknesses are, or rarely do you realize you want to bring them out in the open and talk about them, right? So you want to bring them out and say, well, I'm no good at numbers, right? Or I'm no good at getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, or I'm no good at, these things. So I will make sure that my business either doesn't incorporate those things. They always incorporate numbers, so can't hide behind that, right? You're going to maybe hire somebody, maybe you can hire a bookkeeper, maybe you can hire an accountant. Maybe you can go take a course on it. Maybe you can use a tool such for accounting, such as Simply Accounting or QuickBooks. Right? Especially in today's internet world, there's so much information out there. One, there's so much information out there, and two, there's so much information out there. So it's a positive and a negative. Right? So I've got lots of people who will sit there and spend their day looking at videos about how to run a yoga studio, how to do open up a gym, how to do personal training. And what will happen is they won't move forward. So we always want to have actions with what we do. So first off, we want to do a self-evaluation. Okay? And to a certain extent, you've done one because you're here. Right? You're interested in starting something. Now we want to analyze the opportunity, the idea in opportunity. So a lot of times people say, well, I want to be a personal trainer. I want to, focus on personal training, yoga, or something like that. But it can be anything. But if I'm saying I'm a personal trainer, how many people are out there that do the same thing that I do? What is making me unique? Why am I different? Why would if I'm looking out and I'm looking at 3 personal trainers, why would I hire you versus you? Right? Well, I'm better. What does that mean? If I ask each of you who's better, you'd each say, well, I'm better, I'm better, I'm better. Right? So we want to really figure out what makes us unique. Because every time you purchase something, no matter what it is, it has to have a value to you. Okay? And so if you are selling health in one form or another, sure, health is great. We all like health. But what is it about the health that you're doing that is going to be better for me than the health that somebody else is doing? Okay? you know, it's, some people like hot yoga, some people like, there's so many different types of yoga. Right? Why would somebody take on one type of yoga versus another type of yoga? Why does somebody do CrossFit training, as opposed to just riding a bicycle? Okay, and the people who do things like hot yoga, why do they do hot yoga? And then why is your hot yoga better than anybody else's hot yoga? Because I can go out there, I can do Bikram, I can do Moksha, I can do this high yoga down the street, right? I've got the choice. Why am I choosing that? Right? And, I don't know if any of you do yoga, right? But Bikram does, one of the key things about Bikram is extremely structured, right? You can do Bikram in Montreal, and you do Bikram in Toronto, and you do Bikram in Paris, it'll be the same. Right? But a lot of people really don't like that. Some people like that structure, some people don't. Right? So then what do? They end up going Moksha. Moksha is a little bit more freewheeling with their structure. Right? And then if you don't like, if Moksha is too expensive for you, you can go to Ha. Right? So each of those groups are taking a value and providing it to their clients. So if you're high yoga, you're providing a low-cost alternative. Right? If you're Moksha, you're looking at a less structure. There's a difference at every point. Okay? So now you've figured out what your idea is, what your opportunity is, right? What the value is, because if your value only is good to 3 people, then that's a problem, right? But we want your value to be a value that is defined, right? If you're, one of my classic ones is if you're a photographer, you don't want to say I'm a photographer, right? What type of photographer? Because everybody hires a photographer for a specific reason. Right? A pet photographer, a wedding photographer, a portrait photographer, a business photographer, a landscape photographer. Right? So when you start out, if you're saying I'm a photographer, then you're going to be standing on the street corner with a megaphone going, I'm a photographer. I do everything. Somebody hire me. Right? Whereas if you're a pet photographer, well, you know where your clients are. You know they're at veterinarians. You know they're at dog walks. You know they're at Mondu. They're at, pet stores. You know where you can find them. Right? So you start, you try to create a very narrow definition of who your clients are so you can figure out how to find them. Okay? And that's your market research. Right? So, people saying, well, yeah, I do yoga. Okay, so who's your target client? Right? Well, it's everybody. I'd say, really? 12-year-olds are lining up to go to yoga? Not too often. 95-year-olds are lining up? Not too often. If I stood outside of a yoga center, I'd probably realize that 80% of the clients are women, right? And the ages are probably between, primarily between 35 and 50, right? And now I know that's where the main group of yoga people are. I'm going to try and create maybe I'm going to try and create a man yoga, right? Or I'm going to try and create an old person yoga, right? But you've got something that's different and unique, okay? But you want to know who your target client is at all times. And so you want to look at you want to look up what's going on in yoga, your market research at a high level. What, is yoga growing? Is it shrinking? Right? Well, just empirically, I think we all know it seems to be still. Everybody's really, on the yoga. It seems to be growing, right? But you want to get some numbers onto that, right? And quantify that rather than just getting it. If you go to the bank and say, I have this great feeling, all warm and fuzzies, they're going to say, prove it, right? So you get the number up here, right? Now it's happening in Montreal, right? Is yoga doing well in Montreal? And then you want to go, what's happening in your neighborhood? Where are you doing this? Where are you setting up your studio, right? And if you're setting up your studio in, a neighborhood and there's 20 other yoga studios, well, you know, there's a good thing. It means there must be a lot of people out there looking for yoga, but that means the competition is very high, right? And your ability to find a niche in there is probably that much more difficult. Okay? So you're finding all about yoga, and then you're finding out about your competition, right? So if you're setting up a competition, if you've got your competition, and you're saying, well, it's that yoga studio, that yoga studio, that yoga studio, but it's also that Pilates studio, it's that gym, it's whatever I can do instead of yoga. The running room can be a competitor, right? And so you want to know as much as you can about the clients. What is their, you know, if you're going yoga, maybe I'm going to hang out beside a Lululemon store, right? Because people who go to yoga like to buy their stuff at Lululemon or Leahey. Okay, so we want to get an idea of what's happening out there. If you're starting up a Thai bow or something, something that was, dancercise that was big in the 80s or something like that. Oh, you look at it like, well, nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it here. Nobody's doing it here. Yeah, but does anybody really want it? Not really. So why would you get in? Okay. And usually, what you do in the market research space, you start to go out and you take a little snippet here and there and there, here and there and everywhere to see, do people like my offering? So here's my lemonade. Do you want my lemonade? Right? People take a sip of it. Hey, that's great lemonade. Right? If 10 people out of 100 like my lemonade, is that a good thing? I might say no, but if I can identify all those 10 as having something similar, then I can see it's this section of the market. I bet you've all had a lemon drink that was made for 34 people originally. Right? That's pretty narrow to make a product for 34 people. Right? You're probably going, what lemon drink is that? Any ideas? It's called Gatorade, made for a football team, the Florida Gators. Right? Florida Gators do well, everybody likes it, and and they go from very narrow. If Florida's winning football games, Georgia's looking over going, what are they doing? I want some of that. Right? Tennessee's looking over, okay. Right? They own the football market. Then they own the basketball market. Then they own the sports market. And now it's a drink in a fridge in a store, and people just drink it because they like to drink it. It has nothing to do with sports almost. Right? So we take all that information we put it together. We call it a plan. Right? We like to work with plans. I like to help people with their plans because it does three things. One, it clarifies your idea. Right? It focuses your actions, and it guides you to where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, it's hard to get there, isn't it? Right? So what we want to do is really be like the clarification. It's almost like your pitch. Right? How can you tell people what you do in 7 to 10 seconds? I don't care how complicated your product is or whatever you're doing, you have to be able to tell people in about 7 to 10 seconds what you're doing. Because how often you just move off and people go back to their BlackBerry, I can't believe I said that. Your smartphone, right? Go back to your smartphone, you're playing with your smartphone, people have to look up for a reason, right? And if it's like 10 seconds going, no. Right? You got to get that connection real fast. And real fast, they have to know what the value is you're offering them. They don't have to know it in depth, but they have to know enough. Oh, that sounds interesting. Tell me more. Okay? So we want to plan for it. And the scenario that we have, maybe jumping forward, I'll get back, hold up now. So we plan, we've got the choice of the legal entity, right? In Quebec, there's about, in business, there's like 3 or 4 that you might use. Maybe use, there's a whole bunch of other ones, but really when you start out, there's not many you really choose from, right? You got the choice when you start out. If I want to start up a yoga studio, I can call it Douglas Leahey Yoga, and that's all I need to do, right? As long as I have my full name. If I don't have have my full name, right? And I just call it Douglas's Yoga. Well, other people named Douglas could say, hey, wait a second. You know, that's my name. Right? I can set up one on Douglas, called Douglas's Yoga, because it's not my full name. Right? So that just means you have to go register. In Quebec, it costs $33 to register your company. Right? And you can do it online. If you're doing something that requires liability, right, then we go for things like incorporation. That's 300 and change, 400 change, if you don't use a lawyer. Right? And you can do that online. I mean, it's really been made extremely easy in the last 5 years to do a business, to start up a business. I mean, it's going to all be done online. Location. We want to talk, I would say, never open a location. You know, that's the pessimistic view. But delay it as much as you can. Right? Until you've got clients, until you've got a base from which to pay that rent. Right? Time and again, people are going out and walking down the street going, oh, that's so cute. I love that store. I want to go in there and open up a store. Right? And they go in, they got to pay $3,000 a month. Right? And they're stuck. Right? For a 5-year lease. It's not like an apartment lease. Apartment lease, you know, I think you got to have 3 months notice. No. In a business, commercial lease, it's a contract. You're stuck for 5 years. Or 3 years, whatever the term of it is. Okay? That is the number one thing where I see people selling, is on the location. Okay? You go through all this thing, this whole effort, right? And in the end, you'd say, I need a certain amount of money. Right? I need $10,000. I need $100,000. I need $500,000. There are lots of programs, governmental, pseudo-governmental, private, banking, right, that can help you fund. Okay? It might be that you know, it's not that money is just being thrown around, but it's there. If your plan is legitimate, but if it's feasible, it looks like it's going to survive, it's going to make money, and you can pay off loans and you know, financially profit, then there are opportunities for funding out there. Okay? So what other, you know, one of the key things you want to take a look at is the scale of this. You want to start small. A lot of people have big dreams. Right? I want to be the next Bikram. I want to have a studio in every city in the world, and I want to do that in 2 years. Right? Okay, you could do that maybe if you've got, you know, Bill Gates as your uncle. Okay, he's going to lend you a whole crap load of money. Right? But it's going to take you a while to build. And you're going to start really local. A lot of people start out on the internet, and it takes them a lot longer than they expect. I got a friend who started a business in Ontario, and he started out, he figured, he was in the internet business. He'd been there, sold his company, started another company. He figured he would get 12,000 people within a year. It took him 5. Right? Yeah, 12,000 people. But those 12,000 people were a different character than the ones he originally thought of. These 12,000 were extremely dedicated to what he was doing. Right? And he's able to make money. Now, finally cash positive. His wife loved him a lot. She fed him a little bit of money. Right? But keep it, start small and grow big. If you don't need to rent, don't rent until you can pay for it from your operation. Right? Control expenses. You know, I had a couple guys walk in, and I was looking through their plan. They said, I'm going to have a, you know, we're renting cars. Or we're buying, no, they wanted to buy cars. They wanted to buy 2 Audis. I'm going, well, we're in sales. We need to, drive up in a nice car and look smart. I said, how many times are people looking out the window waiting for you to show up to see what kind of car you're driving? Right? You end up parking in a garage, they don't see you. You're driving, parking around the corner, and you walk. So you might as well take the metro. Right? So build a name, build a following. That's where social media can come in really handy. right? But likes, if you figure out how to transfer likes into dollars, right, you will be a gazillionaire, because that's what everybody's trying to do. I can get 1,000 likes, and I can get no money. Okay? People think they can go onto the internet and kaboom, they're making sales. Not that easy. Right? Facebook didn't start kaboom. It went very quickly, but it started with him and his friends and residents. And it started very small, went to the university, went in the university, then the next university. So when you start out, you had to be a member of a university to get a Facebook account. Right? And then it grew, and then it grew, and then it grew. Right? Everybody sees the big end result of every business, but it always started extremely small. Okay? And I'm a big fan of growing organically. And growing organically means if you can use the funds, use what you can to grow, right? Get loans, get grants. If you can find those things and do it yourself, great. If you have to go out for venture capital, you're giving away part of your business, right? And more than likely, your business can sustain, no venture capitalist is going to look at you, because venture capitalist looks at something that's going to make them millions of dollars, and your business isn't that big yet. Right? So when Bikram starts out, or Moksha starts out, like right now, Moksha's got, what, 5? Well, they got 3, I think, in Montreal, 1 in Nova Scotia, right? I bet you probably in about another, if they get enough, a little bit more momentum, they start to open, if they get like 10 in Montreal, 6 maybe in Montreal, then they might be becoming more of a franchisable model, and then an investor will be really interested in pumping money in there to blow it across Canada and North America. Right? But right now, not as much interest. So in the end, how am I doing that? Oh, in the end, I'm stealing from Nike, and I say just do it. Right? A lot of times people hesitate, fall back, they get themselves buried in the data, in the information that's out there. Okay? If you're interested in it, there are, everybody that's going to be presenting here are people that can help you. Right? There are, if you're thinking about it, let's give it a try. Right? Let's not invest $1 gazillion. Right? This is where focus groups come in. This is where let's start small and let's grow. Okay? There's my half hour. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions? That was it? Was it drinking from the fire hose?
We have a question.
Yes.
How many businesses have you been able to coach towards growing? Or do you follow up, or you just...
We moderately follow up. I mean, I work for a not-for-profit, so the business model is a little different. So when I was in sales, of course I would follow up, right? If they owed me something, I would follow up. It's up to our clients, when they go off, I'm not going like throwing them out the door. They're leaving, I'm waving goodbye. You're off at university now. See you. Have a good life. Right? And off they go. Right? We keep in touch. We try to keep in touch, definitely. But we see, I think my peak year personally, I think I saw 700 clients, individual clients, 1,200 visits, and not all of them turn into businesses, right? Sometimes that's the deal is you come in, we talk, we beat it up, we brainstorm. You know what? We can't find number 2. We can't find that opportunity yet. Go back and think about it. Come back 6 months from now. Right? Come back in 3 months from now. Numerous times clients have come in, right? How about this? So we put it in the washing machine, what comes out? No, they don't like it. Right? They go away, a couple months later, how about this? Okay, let's put it through the washing machine again. Right? So, there's lots of people come through, which gives us actually quite a unique perspective because we get to learn a lot, and we also know what the trends are. Right? So, when Chris Rock came out with his movie The King, I got to know more about hair than I really wanted to know. right? I was been an expert in hair for a while, right? And then, you know, somebody else comes out and you know, all of a sudden there's a wave of people coming in going, I want to start this type of business. So we're there, we've got 4 business coaches, $20, that's 3 beers, or sorry, 3 light beers, right? or a big vegetarian pizza. So, any questions? Any other questions? Okay, you've got my business card. I'm not going to be sticking around after this, but if you've got my business card, by all means, give us a shout. Come on up and visit us in our center. Okay? Thank you very much.